This is the most exciting time to be studying biology in the history of the field. The amount of information available about the natural world has exploded in the last 35 years, and we are now in a position to ask and answer questions that were previously only dreamed of. We have determined the entire sequence of the human genome and are in the process of sequencing the genomes of other species at an ever-increasing pace. We are closing in on a description of the molecular workings of the cell in unprecedented detail, and we are in the process of finally unveiling the mystery of how a single cell can give rise to the complex organization seen in multicellular organisms. With robotics, advanced imaging, and analytical techniques, we have tools available that were formerly the stuff of science fiction. In these videos, I attempt to draw a contemporary picture of the science of biology, as well as provide some history and experimental perspective on this exciting time in the discipline. In this introductory video, I examine the nature of biology and the foundations of science in general to put into context the information presented in the rest of the videos. Biology unifies much of natural science. The study of biology is a point of convergence for the information and tools from all of the natural sciences. Biological systems are the most complex chemical systems on Earth, and their many functions are both determined and constrained by the principles of chemistry and physics. Put another way, no new laws of nature can be gleaned from the study of biology, but that study does illuminate and illustrate the workings of those natural laws. The intricate chemical workings of cells are based on everything we have learned from the study of chemistry, and every level of biological organization is governed by the nature of energy transactions learned from the study of thermodynamics. Biological systems do not represent any new forms of matter, and yet they are the most complex organization of matter known. The complexity of living systems is made possible by a constant source of energy, the sun. The conversion of this energy source into organic molecules by photosynthesis is one of the most beautiful and complex reactions known in chemistry and physics. The way we do science is changing to grapple with increasingly difficult modern problems. Science is becoming more interdisciplinary, combining the expertise from a variety of traditional disciplines and emerging fields such as nanotechnology. Biology is at the heart of this multidisciplinary approach because biological problems often require many different approaches to arrive at solutions. But you must remember that life defies simple definition. In its broadest sense, biology is the study of living things, the science of life. Living things come in an astounding variety of shapes and forms, and biologists study life in many different ways. They live with gorillas, collect fossils, and listen to whales. They read the messages encoded in the long molecules of heredity and count how many times a hummingbird's wings beat each second. What makes something alive? Anyone could deduce that a galloping horse is alive and a car is not. But why? We cannot say, if it moves, it's alive, because a car can move, and gelatin can wiggle in a bowl. They certainly are not alive. Although we cannot define life with a single simple sentence, we can come up with a series of 7 characteristics shared by living systems. These are cellular organization, ordered complexity, sensitivity, growth, development, and reproduction, energy utilization, homeostasis, and evolutionary adaptation. Cellular organization means that all organisms consist of one or more cells, often too tiny to see. Cells carry out the basic activities of living. Each cell is bounded by a membrane that separates it from its surroundings. Ordered complexity means that all living things are both complex and highly ordered. Your body is composed of many different kinds of cells, each containing many complex molecular structures. Many non-living things may also be complex, but they do not exhibit this degree of ordered complexity. Sensitivity means that all organisms respond to stimuli. Plants grow towards a source of light, and the pupils of your eye dilate when you walk into a dark room. Growth, development, and reproduction means that all organisms are capable of growing and reproducing, and they all possess hereditary molecules that are passed to their offspring, ensuring that the offspring are of the same species. Energy utilization means all organisms take in energy and use it to perform many kinds of work. Every muscle in your body is powered with energy you obtain from your diet. Homeostasis means all organisms maintain relatively constant internal conditions that are different from their environment, a process called homeostasis. For example, your body temperature remains stable despite changes in outside temperatures. And the last one, evolutionary adaptation, means all organisms interact with other organisms and the non-living environment in ways that influence their survival, and as a consequence, organisms evolve adaptations to their environments. Besides those 7, it is important to know that living systems show hierarchical organization. The organization of the biological world is hierarchical. That is, each level builds on the level below it. First is the cellular level. At the cellular level, atoms, the fundamental elements of matter, are joined together into clusters called molecules. Complex biological molecules are assembled into tiny structures called organelles within membrane-bounded units we call cells. The cell is the basic unit of life. Many independent organisms are composed only of single cells. Bacteria are single cells, for example. All animals and plants, as well as most fungi and algae, are multicellular, composed of more than one cell. Second is the organismal level. Cells in complex multicellular organisms exhibit 3 levels of organization. The most basic level is that of tissues, which are groups of similar cells that act as a functional unit. Tissues, in turn, are grouped into organs, body structures composed of several different tissues that act as a structural and functional unit. Your brain is an organ composed of nerve cells and a variety of associated tissues that form protective coverings and contribute blood. At the third level of organization, organs are grouped into organ systems. The nervous system, for example, consists of sensory organs, the brain and spinal cord, and neurons that convey signals. Third is the population level. Individual organisms can be categorized into several hierarchical levels within the living world. The most basic of these is the population, a group of organisms of the same species living in the same place. All populations of a particular kind of organism together form a species, its members similar in appearance and able to interbreed. At a higher level of biological organization, a biological community consists of all the populations of different species living together in one place. Fourth is the ecosystem level. At the highest tier of biological organization, a biological community and the physical habitat within which it lives together constitute an ecological system or ecosystem. For example, the soil, water, and atmosphere of a mountain ecosystem interact with the biological community of a mountain meadow in many important ways. Fifth is the biosphere. The entire planet can be thought of as an ecosystem that we call the biosphere. As you move up this hierarchy, novel properties emerge. These emergent properties result from the way in which components interact, and they often cannot be deduced just from looking at the parts themselves. Examining individual cells, for example, gives little hint about the whole animal. You and all humans have the same array of cell types as a giraffe. It is because the living world exhibits many emergent properties that it is difficult to define life. The previous descriptions of the common features and organization of living systems begins to get at the nature of what it is to be alive. The rest of these videos illustrate and expand on these basic ideas to try to provide a more complete account of living systems. So let's review what you should have learned. You should have learned that biology as a science brings together other natural sciences, such as chemistry and physics, to study living systems. Life does not have a simple definition, but living systems share a number of properties that together describe life. Living systems can be organized hierarchically, from the cellular level to the entire biosphere, with emerging properties that may exceed the sum of the parts. I'll leave you with a study question to ponder. Can you study biology without studying other sciences?